Hello everyone. Today in this video we see the construction of the M1A2 SEP V2 version from RFM models. I start off by cutting the pieces of the plastic sprue with a plastic cutter and then cleaning each piece with a sanding paper or a sanding stick. This will make it smoother and easier for fitments. We start off by making the main gun assembly. It is quite decent. I do not glue in the full gun so as to keep it moving for easier fitment in future. Then we start with the turret. This part requires drilling of quite a few small holes. I use a small drill for this purpose. It is easy using a drill rather than hammering a small hole in order to not damage the part. There are several small components that need to be fixed on the turret. Now it looks pretty empty, but after we are done with this part, it's going to be full of different equipment, different devices, and numerous small parts that goes on top of the turret. I use Tamiya plastic cement for majority of the pieces. For various small pieces, I also use super glue. With super glue, we need to be quite careful because it dries off pretty quickly. So I use the super glue only sparingly, only for small pieces which are difficult to hold. And we have to be a bit careful considering that once it is put, it is very difficult to remove. Also, I dry fit the pieces before actually gluing them on. This helps to avoid errors which may be due to the non-proper fitment of parts or because of improper cleaning of the parts. For the clear parts, I cut off small pieces of masking tape and fix it onto the clear parts. These are mainly for the commander's cupola, the driver's side, and the various other clear parts that we have in this tank. We can always remove this tape after the painting process, so our clear parts remain as it is. I would say this is a very efficient way of doing the clear parts because in this tank, or I think in many of the scale models, it is really difficult to put in the clear parts after the printing process. In some cases, I would say it's impossible. So masking, I would say, is a very efficient way of dealing with the clear parts. Now I place the secondary machine guns and the main machine gun on top of the turret. These are very delicate parts, so it needs to be super careful while attaching so as not to break off any pieces. It has an extended tank basel also, which is quite crisply made. And I think this will look good after we put in all the accessories and decorate, or let's say make the tank more realistic, like being pulled out of a battleground. Now we are almost done with the turret, and as you can see, there's a lot of thing which actually goes on top of the turret. The next thing is the lower hull, and there's actually a lot of details on the lower hull. We start off by drilling off some small holes, and I use the same drill that I was using before for the turret. Then I make the axles and the suspension system. There's a small piece that needs to be cut off from the axle in order to make it workable. I'm not sure how much it will be efficient given the rigid track links, but it's nice to have a little bit of flexibility in order to accommodate for the dioramas. Just we have to be careful in this part because there is difference between the right side of the tracks and the left side of the track. So the position of the axles or the suspension system is different in both cases. So the suspension assembly is complete. It's not so difficult, it's quite convenient, I think, just following the instructions. And now I start to put the other components that go onto the lower hull. Most of them will be hidden later by the side cuts, but it's interesting. It's a part of the build to do these pieces. Next, I put on the sprockets on both ends, and then we will start with the wheels. I start off by cutting off the wheels from the sprue and cleaning it so that it has a more finished look and doesn't look that it has been ripped off the sprue. There's a lot of details on these wheels, and it will be very interesting to work on this part after during the paint job. I just put the turret on top of the lower hull to check if the suspension system is actually working and if all the wheels are touching the ground or not. Then we start again by drilling holes in the upper hull and fixing off the necessary pieces. There's also a lot of details that goes on to the upper hull. The wire routing or the cables on the front of the tank are a bit delicate, so it's needed to be a bit careful, especially in this part, given the small thin plastic part which actually goes around the front of the tank. Now that the hull of the tank is almost done, and we can get a preview of what exactly the tank will look like. For the tracks, I start off by sanding them because many of the pieces have flush or extra plastic extrusions on them. and it will be nice to clean them off before I can start painting it. The pieces are small, the horns are quite delicate, but I think there is a lot of extra pieces. So even if you break or destroy one or two of them during working, I think it's not a problem. So this is a good part of this kit. So the tracks are done. The front and the back part of the track system, which is made of individual links, were a bit tricky, but we'll see it during the mounting process. The final step is assembling of the side skirts, and like any other part of this tank, it's again full of details. This was a good build, an interesting build. Not very easy, I would say, but nevertheless, it's quite interesting. So, see you in the next part.